Welcome to Annunciation Radio's Faith with Reasons, the program that examines what the church teaches and why. Faith with Reasons.
Well, good afternoon and welcome aboard. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday, the very last day of the month. Wow. And right smack dab in the middle of Catholic Schools Week. So we're really happy to have Matt Daniels and Jake Johnson in studio with us. Gentlemen, good afternoon. How are you?
Ron, we're doing well. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm glad you could come in. I know it's a busy time. It's always a busy time in Catholic schools, but especially during Catholic Schools Week.
It probably is our busiest week for the entire school year. There are events that happen across the diocese and all of our schools. And just a fun anecdote, it kicked off on Sunday. Jake and I, our families, were at the Walleye game where we honored one of our award-winning principals, Andrea Poole from St. Aloysius in Bowling Green. And so she had her family and some, I think a faculty member and some students and Bishop Thomas on the Fanboni after the second period of the Walleye game, where they won 9-0 or 9-1, I think was the final score.
That's awesome.
But it was a lot of fun, and it was a great way to kick off the week with the Walleye on a Zamboni that's where you can bring, I think, 15 of your closest friends to ride around the ice.
I've always wanted to ride on a Zamboni.
It was really a lot of fun, and I'll be honest with you, I wasn't sure, Bishop is up for all kinds of things, especially when it comes to celebrating Catholic schools, but I wasn't sure, what he would say, like, I don't know what the protocol is for, Episcopal Zamboni rides. But he was all about it. He was excited. He had a great time. And it was just fun to watch us as it was a quick, the whole thing's over in maybe 5 minutes. It's not, you're not there for the entire 20-minute intermission period. But as we were driving by people and waving, they would recognize him, right? So his white hair, and he was in his clerics, but people were like, oh, and pointing, oh, there's Bishop. So it was exciting. It was a lot of fun. And,
that's neat.
And the Walleye won, which was an added bonus. It felt like we were at a football game. 9-1. It was fantastic.
Yeah, really. That's a high scoring hockey game. Yeah. And they recognized schools throughout the game, didn't they?
They did. Well, so we sold some tickets for other people to kind of celebrate Catholic schools. It's something that we've done a couple times. In fact, Bishop dropped the puck one time, and there's just different events that you can do to kind of recognize a particular group. And so it was fun to be there and to do that again. Across the diocese, starting on Sunday, there were you might have seen Catholic school students at your local parish in uniform or participating in Mass, and usually Sunday, that kickoff day, is a day where our Catholic school students are part of celebrating their parish and part of worship and part of kind of the billboard, if you will, for what's good about a Catholic school. And so that was Sunday. Today, I think, is honoring the nation. So when my kids left this morning, they were wearing proudly red, white, and blue, and we live in a pretty wonderful, for all the turmoil and things that happen politically, sometimes I think it's easy to take for granted the wonderful freedoms that we have and the fact that we can have a Catholic school that isn't, dominated or changed by a particular, political ideology, that we can be who we are within our Catholic schools. And so that's something to celebrate. The fact that we can celebrate as a nation, Catholic schools across the country can celebrate this week together is also something that I think it's just wonderful and it's exciting. And if you take to Facebook and you have friends that have children in Catholic schools, you can see all the fun things that have been happening throughout the week. And some of them are a little bit odd. Like crazy hat and sock day. One might say, well, how does that help us celebrate, Catholic schools? But it gets the kids excited. It gets them involved. And frankly, it's a fun thing to see. I was at, Immaculate Conception in Port Clinton on Monday, and it happened to be crazy sock day. And so kids were excited to show off their socks, and they also got an ice cream sundae at the end of the day.
Oh.
And so they were thrilled. The whole day was exciting. I'm not sure they had much learning happen, in the afternoon, but they had a great time with their socks and ice cream sundaes. So.
Yeah, when I was a kid at Rocher Cathedral School coming up, I remember the nuns occasionally would let me stand up, and that was fun. Occasionally, you'd see some fun. Let me tell you a little bit about Matthew Daniels. He's the Senior Director of Catholic Education here in the Diocese of Toledo, and really he oversees 60 schools, educating nearly 16,000 students. Is that right, or has that gone up?
That's right. We hover, this year it went up a little bit from the year before. And frankly, it's great news. Really, Catholic schools across the country, as a rule, have been declining in enrollment really for the last 2 decades. And it's been a sad thing, and something where you don't want to manage decline, but really that's kind of been the trend so far. Certain dioceses in certain areas, especially those that have school choice, which has revolutionized, at least for the state of Ohio, revolutionized the way that parents are able to decide where they want to send their children to school. There have been pockets of bright spots, and so certainly some dioceses who are kind of knocking it out of the park. Certain states, dioceses within those states where you see school choice kind of take hold and grow rapidly. So we happen to be in one of those states, and it happens to be a time that is just transformational for parents, transformational for students, and also for the health of Catholic schools. And it's really exciting. It's really exciting to see the growth that's happening in some places, the ability for families to make a decision about sending their child to a school where maybe they didn't have that opportunity before. Or maybe you're in a family like mine or like Jake's, where you have multiple kids and you have to make some decisions where maybe you couldn't send everybody to a Catholic school. A good friend of mine, I don't think he'll mind me telling this story, Father Mike Dandran, grew up in a house where his parents decided that his oldest brother was the one who probably was going to be the priest. So they decided to send him to the Catholic school in Tiffin.
Wow.
And they were wrong. But Father Mike Dandran tells that story often to talk about the impact that a school choice can have on a family, especially if you have a family who, like most families, you got to fit things between certain line items and budgets every month, and tuition can be very expensive, especially if you have multiple kids. So yeah, it's a great moment.
That's great. And of course, you worked with Father Mike at Holy Trinity.
I did.
You were a principal there before taking this post, right?
I did, and Father Mike got to follow me to Spielbush Avenue, where we worked together. He's now the vicar for clergy and does a great job of helping lead our priests and deacons, and it really is a blessing to go. Every Tuesday we have a staff meeting, and with Bishop and Father Mike's at the table, and he and I we worked well together. We're fond of each other. We have maybe similar styles in terms of like things that we like to see and things that excite us, especially when it comes to young people being excited for the faith. And so being able to be at the same table again with Father Mike Dandran is a real blessing, and he's added a great perspective, really the heart of a pastor to that table. Not that it wasn't there before, but just a different perspective, and one where he's coming right from being pastor at Holy Trinity. So he's been a great addition to the room.
Well, you made the jump 2018, I think.
2018, that's right. Yeah, that's right. To work in the pastoral center for the Catholic Education Department, and it's really been a wonderful opportunity. One to just serve our parishes and serve our schools. I say often that the pastoral center, the diocesan offices, really we're there to provide resources, to give advice, to counsel, and to serve as best we can our Catholic schools and Catholic parishes. In our Catholic Education Department, we have this distinct responsibility of serving principals and also directors of religious education. Both of those leadership positions kind of fall under the way that we've been asked to serve the diocese, and talk about some selfless people, some people that they love Jesus Christ, they love serving His church, they love working with young people, and really, like, they don't think of themselves like this, I don't think, all the time, but they're really evangelists, right? That's what they've signed up for. They've signed up for saying yes to making Jesus Christ known, loved, and served, whether it's 6 hours throughout the course of a Catholic school weekday, or for an hour and a half, for religious education on a Sunday or weekday. These leaders have agreed to be evangelizing and making Jesus known, loved, and served through the programs that they offer and the hard work that they do every week and every day to make sure that young people have a good experience across our diocese. So it's a blessing to serve these great people in this way. And this week we get a chance to really celebrate all the joy and the graces that come from a Catholic school. So it's a great week. It's one of our favorite weeks. And by the grace of God, we've actually been in school for most of the week. You know how I think the last time I was here was during Catholic Schools Week, and it happened to be a snow day, which unfortunately has been a common occurrence, that Catholic Schools Week equaled snow days for the last couple years. So we've been actually in class and in schools to celebrate, so it's been good.
Now, all that really nasty weather occurred just before Catholic Schools Week.
So you mentioned the school choice program, and I believe that we discussed that because it had just been enacted last year when we had you in studio.
That's right. So the history of school choice in Ohio really goes back to a Catholic school a few decades ago, and the Supreme Court at that time got involved. What happened in July is nothing short of miraculous, I think. It's basically every single family in the state of Ohio is eligible for a school choice scholarship, and it's amazing. So families that make 450% of the federal poverty level. So for a family of four, that's probably around $135,000. They can apply and receive up to $6,100 for a K through 8 education. If it's high school, it's even higher. It's $8,400, I think it is, for a 9 through 12 education. If you make more than that, you get a little bit less. But the cool part is that everyone gets something. So you could make $1 million a year, and you still get 10% of that scholarship. So every family is eligible. The state, I think, has done a great job. They've been overwhelmed in Columbus to try to process thousands and thousands of these applications. But there has never been a time in the state where we've been more poised and more ready to help families make choices that some of them may have never had before. And it's just a blessing, and I can't iterate it enough. It's revolutionary in terms of the way that a school can count on finances. Most Catholic schools, that is, they would go into August saying, okay, well, how many kids do we have in third grade and how many in fourth grade, and are we going to be able to pay these bills, because we had planned on 164 kids and we've only got 163 or 160 signed up, and what are we going to do, because the budget's sometimes that tight. And now we have a chance to kind of plan for a budget. If we know we have X amount of students, we have a better understanding of how much we're going to take in tuition. And the process is pretty simple. So my own kids have used this Ed Choice Scholarship for several years now. You fill out one page, which is an application. It tells, demographics about the student and where they're going to go to school. You submit that to the school, and they turn it in for you. The other form that now you just have to submit one time. You don't have to do it every year, just one time. Tell the state about your income situation and how many kids live in your house. So for the Daniels, we have 7 kids, and so on that chart, we're a little further down on the chart because we have so many kiddos. Yeah. That's right, yeah. It's to do some extra math. But you do that one time, and that's how you apply. And the next year, you just do that one page that tells the state about who the student is and where they go to school, and that's all you have to do. And it's a simple process. Like I said, this year there was maybe a little bottleneck, but the state has done a great job of sifting through that and making sure they've processed every single application that they've received. And I don't know. It's just so exciting to be able to look at principals and talk to them, and families too, to know that there's an opportunity that is going to help Catholic schools flourish. It's going to help families make choices that they couldn't make sometimes before, and also to know that the process isn't overly complicated. I mean, it's much more simple than I don't know, doing taxes, or frankly, even some of the forms that we still get to fill out at the beginning of a school year. It's much more simple than that. So it's been a great year. Again, transformational in terms of what the state has allowed non-public schools to take advantage of from a provider standpoint, but also to empower parents to say, this is the type of education I want for my child. And as a church, that's been what we've taught for a long time, since the Second Vatican Council, that parents are the primary educators of their children, and as Catholics, we believe, and as dioceses, we believe that we're here to support those parents, whatever avenue they'd like to take in order to best form their children according to what they think is the right plan. So, personally, my wife and I have decided that a Catholic school, it's a great community. It's a great opportunity for them to learn and grow together with their friends, as a community of believers. And that's the way that we've chosen to educate our kids. And frankly, that's why I get so excited about the work that I do. So
certainly. And you get that sense when you really go into any Catholic school hallway. I mean, you automatically feel it. There's something tangible in those walls that it seems like students are they're happier, and they're smiling, and they're challenged academically, and everybody likes to be challenged in the right way.
Yeah.
You don't want to skate through things, and so it's a wonderful education. Obviously, there's so many. I mean, we'll talk more about some of the great advantages, especially for parents who haven't experienced it yet and have the opportunity with some of these programs and scholarships that are available. I know last Saturday the Ohio School Choice Fair,
that's right,
took place. They did that at the zoo, at the Malawi Center.
That's right,
Malawi
yes,
Center.
Yeah, Malawi, I think.
Malawi. Okay, that sounds good. And good attendance there.
It was a great event. There were Catholic schools, there were other private schools, there were public schools, there were charter schools. Again, when you think about this opportunity to empower parents to choose the school so that their zip code isn't dictating where they have to go to school, that parents have this opportunity to choose. It's just a powerful thing, I think, as a parent. It's a liberating feeling as a parent. And I think there were over 600 people that attended the fair. And the Daniels crew, we were there, and we know and love our Catholic school, but it was fun to see what other schools have to offer and what other schools were promoting, that particular day. And it was just a great event. And frankly, having it at the zoo, I think, was a brilliant thought through. So Ann Riddle, who is a parishioner at St. Joe, Sylvania, and has been just a champion for helping families and parents have opportunities to pick the school of their choice for a long, long time, and helped run that event, and I think was very instrumental in thinking, what's a good place for us to attract families that families are familiar with, and what better place than the zoo? And it sure was cold outside, but the inside it was warm and inviting, and they had passports of with logos of all of the schools that were present.
Oh, neat.
And so the kids got to take their passport and get it stamped as they went around kind of this tour of schools that were present. So even for the youngest students, the youngest kids that were there, they had a great time. And we came home with more candy and bags of things than I thought we would leave with, but they had a great time too.
And we had Ann on in advance of the event to talk about the event, and she's on fire. She really is.
I always say, if I'm having a bad day, I used to go to a preschool or kindergarten classroom, and those preschoolers or kindergartners, they can just lift your soul up. But now I just have to call Ann Riddle. I don't have in the pastoral center, we don't have a kindergarten class, so I just have to call Ann, and she's a faithful woman, and is able to just pick you right up. I mean, she's full of zeal, that's for sure.
Matthew Daniels, our guest here on Faith with Reasons. And, of course, during this Catholic Schools Week, it's a great opportunity for people to learn more about what Catholic education is all about. And I know in our diocese there's so much support and love for each of our schools. I know, Matt, you visit. This is a spread out diocese. I mean, we're pretty how many? All these counties, 19 counties, 15 deaneries. So you got a lot of mileage on your car. You don't stay in your office all the time.
That's true. Yeah, it's very spread out. In many ways, I think it's a blessing because you get to see different charisms and different kind of traditions that happen. In Lima versus Mansfield versus Toledo. So for example, on Friday, I'm going to all of the Catholic schools. There are 3 elementary parish schools in Lima, and then Lima Central Catholic is the high school. And so for the last several years, I know they've gotten together and they'll have an all schools mass with all the schools together, and they fill up St. Gerard Parish Church, and it's a great feeling. It's a great thing to see the older students with the younger students. Everyone's in their different colors, and just a great way to end the week. And it's been a great tradition that I get to be present for. Jake and I get to go to Upper Sandusky later tomorrow for an event. Like I said, I was in Port Clinton. Was it our 2 CCMD schools today? There's one more that I think I have on my calendar, but it's been a busy week. And you're right. It's you go. I don't know, about a little less than 2 hours is as far as I usually have to drive, but it can be daunting at some point when you're it's especially at night. It can be a little overwhelming, but the different traditions in the different schools I think add to the richness of our what make up the group of principles that we have, and it's a blessing in that way.
So your position is basically to provide support. Your office provides support to the various schools. You're not necessarily like a superintendent per se, or are you?
Yeah, it's a good question. So most dioceses have the position of superintendent, although when it's compared to a public school superintendent, they really are apples and oranges. Mm-hmm. We've decided as a diocese to, the head of a department, if you will, we call it a senior director, and I think it's just kind of a semantic kind of decision to decide to call it one thing or the other. So I serve as a senior director, but in many ways it's like a superintendent. And what's interesting is we're not a school system. We're kind of a system of schools, okay, if I can describe it that way. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't make sense for us, in 19 counties and all these different traditions and times of when schools start, for us to have like a unified school calendar, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense for us to have that. In other dioceses, so like the Archdiocese of Chicago, their downtown schools very much feel like a school system versus a system of schools. So okay, there's a lot more unity in terms of kind of the some of the things that you would expect to see, like a unified calendar or something like that. What we try to do is to be able to provide some continuity in our courses of study, in certainly our policies and procedures, our expectations, and also in our formation of new leaders and of teachers. We want there to be some centrality to the way that we are forming new leaders and new teachers in our schools. When you think of it from a diocesan perspective, the bishop is given this particular role of chief teacher, right? And just like he's not able to give the sacrament every Sunday to every Catholic across the diocese, he's not able to teach every Catholic across the diocese. And so we really follow, what I think the winning combination is what dioceses ought to do is say to their ordinary, their local bishop, what's your vision for education? What do you think is important? What are the things that we want to stress in terms of how we form young people? And then a good superintendent or senior director carries out that vision on behalf of the bishop or with the bishop. And so that's kind of how I've seen this position kind of mold and go forward for me. As a former principal, I kind of did the same thing for my pastor, right? Mm-hmm. The pastor was kind of the guy who was charged with, leading the flock in that local area. And when it came to formation, especially from a Catholic school, that's what I tried to do, support him in that vision. So, it's also, there's a lot of flexibility in the way that you do some of that, So we've been using a platform called Franciscan at Home as a vehicle in which we can provide some formation, but a lot of it is also face-to-face in the relationships that we build with our teachers and principals and new leaders especially. So Jake and I get to take part once a month in new leader formation programs that we bring our first and second year principals in, really for two reasons. One, there's so much to know and so much to do. We want to make sure that they're well prepared from a managerial standpoint, but also from a Catholic culture standpoint, that they understand kind of the role that they've been led to, and how they can best fulfill that particular role as a ministerial principal, if that makes sense.
Sure. So your curriculum then is standardized across the diocese, just to be clear, or do the schools have some latitude in how things are taught or what is taught?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of latitude. Again, thinking about kind of the local wisdom and the local tradition and even the local charisms and sometimes. I would say we have a course of study. Mm-hmm. And so within the course of study, there are kind of, it's not really standards, but it's expectations for, let's say, third grade math or fourth grade language arts that we provide to our schools that is kind of a baseline. Mm-hmm. But if one school wants to teach, Hatchet versus Charlotte's Web, we don't necessarily say you have to pick one versus the other. Mm-hmm. And again, I think that speaks to the ability for schools to make local decisions, and also to why it's so important to help form our principals and form our teachers. That, if there was a situation where maybe there was a book that was chosen that shouldn't be, my first question would be, who made that decision and why did they say yes to that, right? It goes back to kind of the way that someone was formed. So yeah, there's a lot of latitude and a lot of flexibility. And frankly, I think it allows teachers who are really distinguished at their craft to understand that they're called. So all of our teachers are ministers, they're teacher ministers, and that's the contract that they sign. Mm-hmm. And it allows them to, what we say often is to baptize particular standards or outcomes through the lens of our faith. So you can imagine some do that better than others, especially those that have been doing it for a long time, understand this mission they've been called to.
Wonderful.
We're truly blessed with some really great teachers, some
Amen.
Wonderful teachers, not just in Catholic schools, I mean in teaching in general, but to have that singular focus and to have Christ as part of that curriculum. What a gift.
Amen.
What a gift. We got to take a little bit of a break. We're going to come right back. Matt Daniels and Jake Johnson, our guest here on Faith with Reasons.
Thinking about separation or divorce? Retrovi is a Christian peer ministry designed to help troubled couples regain the health of their marriage. It helps spouses reawaken the love, trust, and commitment that originally brought them together. Retrovi has helped tens of thousands of couples around the world. To learn more about Retrovi or to register for a weekend near you, call 1-800-470-2230 or visit us on the web at www.helpourmarriage.com.
This is Father Philip Smith, Director of Vocations for the Diocese of Toledo, and I would invite you to join me in praying a prayer for priestly vocations. Lord God, in your plan for our salvation, you provide shepherds for your people. Fill the hearts of young people in the Diocese of Toledo with courage and love. Raise up worthy ministers for your altars. Make them ardent yet gentle servants of the gospel. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Now, in addition to Father Phil Smith's prayer on vocations, the bishop has asked that we add a Hail Mary to pray for an increase of vocations to our Diocese of Toledo. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. St. John Vianney, pray for us.
What's your question for the Bishop's Corner? Bishop Daniel Thomas takes time each week to answer listener questions, but he's only half the show. You are the other half. We need your questions now for the next recordings of Bishop's Corner installments. Send them right now to bishop@annunciationradio.com or use the form on the Annunciation Radio app or website, and make sure to include your first name and parish or town. Bishop's Corner recording takes place very soon, so get your questions in now.
Now, back to Faith with Reasons here on Annunciation Radio.
Hey, welcome back here. Shayne Stanfield with Ron Finn, and we're blessed to have in studio today Matt Daniels, is currently the Senior Director of the Department of Catholic Education for the Diocese of Toledo. That's overseeing 60 schools in our 19 counties, and that's nearly 16,000 students. This position he's had since November of 2018. And Jake Johnson, Director of Catholic Schools Mission. And Jake, you handle pretty much the scholarship portion of the diocese. And let's basically just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do in your position in your office, and we can get into the scholarship aspect of your job.
Thanks so much for having us on today. I'm our Director of Catholic School Mission. Part of what my responsibilities fall under the scope and realm of really go back to what Matt was talking about earlier about being able to provide assistance for our principals. Going back to my own time as an assistant principal, one of the things that you oftentimes felt is that sometimes you're off on an island. You were trying to find where the support and assistance could come from, either from the state level or from the diocesan level. And that's one of the things that Matt, myself, Tim Mahoney, Vicki Fitz, Jen Michaels, we really take a lot of pride in, is being able to provide a great amount of support and assistance for our principals. That way, when they have questions about particular state or federal funding issues, any type of compliance things, or even just something just as simple as the wording on a contract, those are the types of things that we're able to help out and provide a really just a great level of assistance for our principals. Many of my responsibilities fall underneath anything from helping our principals out with contracts, working with our business managers. We have state funding as far as our auxiliary service funding, administrative cost reimbursement, a lot of programs that have been established through the state to provide funding for our Catholic schools. One of the things that we are establishing now is our scholarship granting organization, our SGO. Matt had mentioned that he and I are both parishioners out at Holy Trinity, and every year Matt and I make our way out to the reverse raffle, and every year we buy our $100 ticket for the reverse raffle, which, by the way, is coming up at the end of end of April. So be sure.
Have you been in the final three?
Not at Holy Trinity. I did at St. Richard's out in Swanton one year, and it was funny because it came down to the final three, and it was myself and a buddy of mine, and we walked up, and I'm like, well, we should probably split it, because if we go with one more person, one of us is going to go out, and we're going to feel really bad about it. So we ended up doing a three-way split.
Oh, but nice.
Yeah. It was a pretty good day. I think I mentioned that to Matt. Yeah. Donation check is coming from the Johnson family to the diocese. Yeah. But every year we go out to our reverse raffle, and we buy our tickets. And there were a couple years that Matt and I accidentally we were bidding each other up on the same thing. I don't think I told you that I was actually bidding you up on some patio furniture that you ended up buying. And I think another time I was bidding you up on I think it was a bottle of bourbon, which I think is still in my kitchen. But but when you go out to those fundraisers and you overpay for patio furniture, and you paid $50 for a great meal, fellowship, and you know that what you're doing is that you're benefiting the school, and it's a win for the kids. And as we often say when we're bidding on something, well, it's for the kids, right? So it's a win for the kids. It's a win for us. What the SGO is, it's a win for both you as the donor and for the schools as well. What the SGO allows is for a donor to make up to a $750 donation to a Diocese of Toledo school of their choice, and then receive a tax credit up to $750. Now, there's a lot of little nuances in and out, and I can get into those little nuances. But the main thing to do is to take a look. Here's six very easy letters to remember. It's DOTSGO, the Diocese of Toledo Scholarship Granting Organization. DOTSGO.org is your one-stop shop to find all the information about the Diocese of Toledo Scholarship Granting Organization.
DOTSGA.org.
DOTSGO.
.org. Duh. And I've got a Catholic education.
There's a lot of vowels in there.
Well, that sounds like you're keeping them pretty busy, because there's a lot of people to keep in the loop, and obviously, whenever there's paperwork involved, people are going to need help with it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and one of the great things about this Diocese of Toledo Scholarship Organization is that when we're getting into tax time right now, and we're getting into the month of February, people are starting to take a look at their taxes. And if they have an Ohio state tax liability, which if you make over $46,000 a year, you're going to owe at least $750 to the state of Ohio for your taxes. Mm-hmm. If you owe $750, or even if you owe less than that, you can make a donation to a scholarship granting organization and then receive a tax credit. Not a tax deduction, but a tax credit, and receive the equivalent to your donation back.
Well, that is a win-win.
Yeah.
It's like you're donating your taxes to a school.
Absolutely. When the Johnson family is getting ready to file for our taxes, that's the first thing I'll do. I'll take a look at line 13, and I'll see that we have an Ohio state tax liability, and my wife and I will every year we do married filing jointly. If we did married filing separately, it can work out in that respect as well. But we'll take a look at the line, and then we'll make a donation to the SGO website. I'll then receive an email immediately as the acknowledgement letter that I can use for my tax records, and then within a couple of days, I'll then receive an acknowledgement letter by mail, which I can use also for tax purposes. So you can get something instantaneously, and then you can also receive something in the mail. You can also send a check, and all that information is on dotsgo.org. But I'll take a look at what our state tax liability is, and then I'll make a donation. In our case, I'll make a $750 donation. My wife will then make a $750 donation. And so then our family can make, and as this is established, you can make up to a $1,500 donation. And then you can then receive a up to $1,500 tax credit for that. So you can donate over that, but you can only receive a tax credit for $750 as an individual, or up to $1,500 for married filing jointly.
I'll have to keep that in mind, because it is tax time. So we can make a donation in 2024 for 2023 taxes and receive the credit on the 2023 tax form.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You can make that donation up to when you file. So the ultimate deadline is April 15th, but up to when you file, you can receive a tax credit for your 2023 tax year, even though we're currently in 2024.
Well, we're going to have to remember that, because that's something that we'll do for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And
we'll sign you up before we leave if you want. The question that I have that just came to me as we're sitting here talking about this is, so if I can be as bold to say, Jake and I are parishioners at Holy Trinity. We go to the same parish. It's the parish. It's the parish Jake grew up in, and I kind of want to know if Jake's and Andrea are going to give to Holy Trinity's SGO or to St. John's, where his younger boys go. And I guess I'm going to put you on the spot to say,
I kind of want to know the answer to that.
What's going to happen?
Too,
your parish that, the needs of our parish and our parish school, or the place on airport. And I drove by, they've got a gold dome on top. I don't know. I know where my money would go.
There you go.
Well, that's one of the beauties, and thanks so much for just throwing me right on the spot.
We enjoyed it.
Well, Matt, I think what I'm going to do is because our great friends on Airport Highway, St. John's Jesuit, they have established their own SGO, and the scholarship granting organization that we are operating through the Diocese of Toledo. You can make a donation to St. John's Jesuit. We'll make sure that donation gets the St. John's Jesuit.
So it could be a diocesan school or an order school.
Several of our order schools have either established their own, or they're partnering with us,
Gotcha.
or they're partnering with Ann Riddles.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But any way that a donor wants to make a donation to an SGO, whether you want to give to St. John's Jesuit, if you want to give to St. Ursula, or if you want to give to the Diocese of Toledo Scholarship Granting Organization, those dollars will make their way to the schools. As Matt had mentioned, you can earmark which school you want to make a donation to. I will be making my donation to Holy Trinity School because, well, that's the fund that I'm managing right now.
For a minute there, I thought you weren't really going to answer the question, but you did. Oh, yeah. Proud of you.
I don't think that window's quite big enough for me to be able to jump out of, so I knew I had to answer that question.
So once again, that's dotsgo.org.
That's correct.
And you'll be able to go on there, you'll make your donation, and that could be applied to any of the 60 schools. There's a list there. You earmark that money, and it would be sent to that school. Now, this is for scholarship. Obviously, there are families out there that need obviously financial assistance. That's how this money's applied, correct?
Correct. And twice a year, there will be awards granted to our schools. And so up until April 30th, or up until the end of April, schools can encourage their families to apply and then receive a scholarship from the scholarship granting organization for the upcoming school year. So we're going to do a spring award, and then we're going to do another award in the fall to help families that may have after financial aid has been issued, or if there's continuing expenses, that the family can then apply again in the fall. But most of the SGO dollars will go out here during the spring period. So on our dotsgo.org website, there's a place there for families to apply. Our schools will also be promoting this as well, encouraging families to apply for the SGO scholarships. And then those dollars can then be applied to the families that have applied, or can be granted to families that have applied for the scholarship.
Nice.
Very good. So the school choice program, we were talking about that in the first segment. Matt mentioned a couple of different amounts, and I don't recall exactly what those are, but I just want to clarify the amounts that you were given. Is that a family amount, or is that a per child amount?
It's a good question. So it's per child, and someone you may start to think, well, gosh, where's all this money going to go? So I'll just use an example that I'm very familiar with. So we have two schools that are part of the Central City Ministry of Toledo, Rosary Cathedral and Queen of Apostles schools. These are schools that don't have parishes associated with them. So there isn't kind of that overarching, parochial support. So for almost, I would say, for the last several years, almost all of their students are eligible for one of the Ed Choice programs, either the one that's based on your assigned school, or the one that's based on income. So all the students are eligible for that scholarship. The reality is, though, to provide an education to them, it costs more than what the state is providing for that scholarship. So I think this year the tuition, which in this case is equal to their cost to educate, is set at $7,800. So that's what it costs the school to have a student in the classroom for the year. So traditionally, like Jake was saying earlier, you do fundraisers, you do annual appeals, you do different programs to try to make up the difference for every student between what the state scholarship will reimburse and what it actually costs to have a student there. Mm-hmm. And that gap is really where this scholarship granting organization situation is again transformational, right? So the state of Ohio is saying we're going to support you as families and we're going to cover X amount, and realizing that may not be enough to cover everything. They've allowed for this SGO situation to be part of how we support families in the state, and so families can apply for an amount that is equal the distance between this choice scholarship and what the tuition is at.
Well, that's good to know, because they kind of dovetail that.
Yeah.
And again, working together to again flipping private school tuition on its head, and our world has been for so long, gosh, what are we going to do? How are we going to scrimp and save to make sure that we can provide an affordable tuition to families? And sometimes it's at the expense of parish subsidies that are so large, but they're so large because they believe in supporting their families, the parishioners' families, their kids to go to a Catholic school. Not that should just go away entirely, but it may not be quite as heavy of a lift as it has been in the past. So that's why we're excited, and frankly, there hasn't been a 9-month time frame where we've been more excited and more able to change the way that we support families to attend a Catholic school if that's something that they choose to do. It really, I can't say exciting enough. Like, it's thrilling. It's a momentous occasion for us, and I hope that and pray that we're ready to serve families, because I think we're probably some heads are gonna turn and say, gosh, I've never considered this, and now I have an opportunity to do so, and I'm excited as a parent, and I want to learn more. And frankly, we've got to be ready as Catholic schools to accept those families in and say, welcome, we're glad you're here. Let us show you what this difference in philosophy of education actually is.
Well, we had the principal of our school at our parish give a presentation following Mass last Sunday, just as the kickoff for Catholic education, and making it known, that to parents that you've got the school choice program out there, and it really is making it possible for families to get a private school education, a quality education. And essentially, what if I'm understanding you correctly, the tab's pretty much picked up as far as tuition costs are concerned, based on your school choice, and obviously the opportunity to apply for an SGO to cover that difference. If you're a family that's struggling, obviously, if you're making a decent income, you would pay that difference, but you're not paying several $1,000s, per child, which is a blessing. Wonderful.
And, of course, we all want the best for our kids, right? And sometimes those choices don't exist in some places. I mean, you're pretty well stuck where you're at. And, again, there's bright spots in every school, so it's not really an us versus them situation. But when you give the parent the choice to find the right fit for their kid, and you're kind of unshackled. I mean, you can really take a more direct involvement approach with your children's education, which is the primary role of the parent anyway. So it's a wonderful opportunity to be able to do that. And as you mentioned, Shayne, even if you're putting a little bit in, a fraction of what you would have to pay if you came up with the whole amount yourself, this really gives some terrific opportunities for parents out there. And once they get involved, especially in our Catholic schools here in the Diocese of Toledo, you're part of a family. You really are.
Yeah, we say all the time that Catholic schools they're faith communities, and they're animated by communion, right? So as Catholics, communion is the source and summit of who we are in our faith. But that sense of the body of Christ, that sense of community, is very much present. Ron, earlier you said that when you walk into a Catholic school, you often feel like you're walking into a different place, and the church has actually used those same words, that's what should happen. And part of that is this sense of like a familiar kind of embrace when you walk in, that, gosh, this is a safe place. This is a good place. It's a place that I trust, for my kids to be formed in a way that I agree with as a parent. And it's just, again, like, it's just a beautiful, some days I didn't go to Catholic school. I'm a convert, so I wasn't raised Catholic. And sometimes I'm a little jealous of my own kids, because I hear and see what they get to do, and what we talk about it at the dinner table all the time. Like, what'd you do today? What'd you learn today? And I'm a little jealous of like they tell me about like a virtue that they learned, or a saint that they learned about, or, my son, earlier this year, was able to research and for All Saints Day become his favorite saint, and to tell everyone at Mass, at the school Mass, about, who he was, Saint Sebastian. So, it's just as a parent, it's an exciting thing to tell other parents about. And to Jake's point, we need people to consider donating to our scholarship granting organization, because your donation, that again is a tax credit, so there's no difference in who you're donating to, in terms of financially. It's just the state of Ohio or a Catholic school of your choice.
You're giving it to somebody anyway.
Right, yeah. Exactly. It's going out anyway, so you can pick the state of Ohio or a Catholic school of your choice. And we're here to say, please pick our Catholic schools and tell your friends to do the same thing.
Yeah, and that's something that should be advertised, really. I mean, even at the parish level, just to make sure, because, there's probably quite a few people that owe at the end of the year. And whatever that is, again, you're making an excellent point. If you're going to have to pay it, you might as well give it to the school and get that credit back on your taxes. It just makes sense.
And of course, in addition to Schools Week, Catholic Schools Week, open houses are taking place, and people can they don't have to wait for a specific period. They can kind of tour a Catholic school pretty much any time by appointment. Correct?
Absolutely. All of our Catholic high schools offer a student for a day program. So even though we had 8th grade visitation back in the fall, just getting in contact with any of our local high schools and setting up a day for your 8th grader to go out and visit those schools. It's something that just last Friday was our big acceptance day for our 8th grade students. So you might have seen that out on social media. A number of students that were receiving their T-shirt from St. John's or their pennant from Notre Dame. Just how excited kids are to be able to continue their Catholic education from their Catholic elementary school all the way through high school. And that's something else that EdChoice has been able to provide, is that overall vision for a family, that if I sent my child to the local Catholic school for preschool, well, can I afford kindergarten? And then can I afford up to 8th grade? And then what's high school going to look like? These EdChoice programs, the SGO, and all the fundraising efforts really give a much better vision for our families of what the next 12 years can look like, and what that family needs to be able to do on their own efforts and on the school's efforts to be able to continue Catholic education all the way through K-12.
That's wonderful. And I think traditionally, and I'm going back, many years ago, the idea was it was only the well-to-do or the wealthy, have that opportunity, that privilege, at least with a high school, level, send the kids to a Catholic high school. But this really definitely opens the door for the average family to get the quality Catholic education. And I would be surprised that you don't see an increase in enrollment just because of that. Because I tell you, I mean, what you hear in the news about the public schools, and you mentioned earlier in the first segment, the ideologies that could be, the politics get brought into the schools, and these ideologies get taught, and it's a shock for a lot of parents to hear that the various things that their kids are being instructed in the public sphere, and that's something that we can be proud as Catholics in our school systems that won't happen in our schools.
Yeah, I say often that I think if I could boil down into one sentence what we do in Catholic schools, I tell this to teachers, and not that we're like excellent at this, but like our vision for what we are called to do is, through the virtues of faith, hope, and love, our job is to make Jesus Christ known, loved, and served by teaching truth, goodness, and beauty.
Beautiful.
And that's how I've thought about it since I've been in this position. And it's the things that are as simple as like the truth that's part of a math equation, a quadratic equation, is a glimpse of the truth of who God is, of who Jesus Christ is. Or there's this image that I have of my son when he was in preschool, and his preschool teacher was they were releasing a monarch butterfly that had transformed from a caterpillar into a chrysalis and then a butterfly. And the person who took the picture, wasn't me, captured his face and the teacher's face at the moment that the butterfly took off. And like, it's this image for me of awe and wonder and the beauty of this new life that had been created, in this butterfly. And like, that's the type of inspiration that we ought to give students, regardless of where they go to school, but absolutely in our Catholic schools, because it's giving them a glimpse of who God is in those transcendental properties. So it's not easy. It takes a lot of work. It's not something that's innate in like, when you go to school to be a teacher, like you just don't like discover that. You have to work at that a little bit. So I'm not saying that every single classroom, like we do this well all the time, but that's what we're called to do. And that's what the expectation is, that we teach truth, goodness, and beauty in our classrooms. And, when you go visit and you see classrooms and you see things that happen inside of our schools, you can see the evidence, the artifacts of that type of teaching. And again, like as a parent, I don't know. If you don't want that, then you might be happier somewhere else. But I want that for my kids, and those are the types of schools that we strive for in our diocese.
Well, you think about how much time students spend in the classroom and in the school. I mean, you want them surrounded by loving, caring people, and you want that culture of God's love to be present. And as you say, it's not something that you snap your fingers. You kind of soak it in. So, yeah, definitely discover Catholic schools. And Jake, if they want to learn more about the scholarship granting organization, they contact you at the diocese?
Yep, dotsgo.org, or contact me at the diocese.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Go Catholic education. And thanks for joining us here on Annunciation Radio. Next week, Peter Sabilio will be our guest.